Commander Lisa Monroe stood at the big window of the research ship Dawning Star. She watched the alien shuttle come down through the orange clouds of Kepler 442b. Her heart was beating fast. After 18 months of careful talking through radio signals, the Velrani had finally agreed to meet humans face to face. The Velrani were an old species. Very old. They had been flying between stars for almost 4,000 years, before humans even learned to make fire. They had put helpful beacons all across the galaxy. These beacons sent out signals to help younger species avoid big mistakes. Humanity had found one of these beacons near Neptune 3 years ago. That discovery changed everything. Dr. Kevin Park stood next to Lisa. He was the mission expert on alien cultures. His hands were shaking a little as he looked at his notes. Everything they knew about the Velrani said they were kind. They were patient. They saw it as their duty to help younger races grow up safely, like parents helping children learn to walk. "They think we are babies," said Chief Engineer Sam Ortega. He was standing behind them with his arms crossed. He did not sound angry, just honest. "They are sending us training wheels." "Maybe we need training wheels," Lisa replied. She did not take her eyes off the shuttle. "We almost killed ourselves 3 times in the last century. Nuclear wars, climate disasters, that thing with the artificial intelligence in 2089. Maybe having someone older and wiser looking out for us is not such a bad thing." Sam shrugged. He did not argue. He knew she was right. The alien shuttle landed softly on the platform below. It made no sound at all. Human ships always made noise when they landed. The Velrani technology was so far ahead that it seemed like magic. 3 aliens walked out of the shuttle. Lisa had seen pictures from the long-distance cameras, but seeing them in person was different. The Velrani were tall, almost 3 meters high. Their skin changed colors slowly, like oil on water. They had 4 arms each, long and graceful. Their faces had no mouths that Lisa could see. They spoke through small devices on their chests. The lead Velrani walked toward the human group. The translator device on its chest glowed blue as it spoke. "I am called Gentle Current in your language. I bring greetings from the Velrani Cooperative. We are happy to finally meet the young ones of Earth." Lisa stepped forward and bowed her head a little. They had practiced this. "I am Commander Lisa Monroe. On behalf of all humanity, we thank you for coming. We have much to learn from you." Gentle Current's skin turned a soft pink color. The humans had learned this meant the alien was pleased. "You are polite cubs. This is good. Politeness is the first step toward wisdom." There was that word again. Cubs. Lisa kept her smile steady. The meeting went well. The Velrani were patient and spoke slowly so the translators could keep up. They explained that they had been watching humanity for almost 200 years. They were impressed that humans had not destroyed themselves yet. Many young species did not make it this far. "We have brought gifts," Gentle Current said after several hours of talking. "Tools to help you grow. Simple things to start." One of the other Velrani brought forward a metal case. It was smooth and silver and had no visible locks or hinges. Gentle Current touched it, and it opened like a flower blooming. Inside were boots, 12 pairs of boots that shimmered with strange light. They looked almost like normal military boots, but there were tiny lights running along the sides, and the material seemed to shift and change as Lisa looked at it. "Gravity manipulation devices," Gentle Current explained. "Your soldiers and explorers can wear these. They will allow walking on any surface, walls, ceilings, even in places with no gravity at all. A gift for the cubs of Earth." Kevin leaned close to Lisa. "Gravity manipulation," he whispered. "We have been trying to figure that out for 50 years. They just handed it to us like it was nothing." Lisa accepted the case with both hands. "We are grateful for this gift. We will study it carefully." "Take your time," Gentle Current said. These devices are simple for us, but they may be complex for you. We expect it will take your scientists several years to understand how they work. Do not rush. Young ones who rush often fall. That night, after the Velrani had returned to their shuttle to rest, a young officer named Danny Vega could not sleep. He was 22 years old and had been in space for only 8 months. The alien boots were locked in the cargo bay. Only senior officers were supposed to have access. Danny had access. He was a cargo specialist. He had the codes. He told himself he just wanted to look at them. Just a quick look. His 2 friends, Rosa Martinez and Pete Collins, came with him. They were also young. They were also curious. The cargo bay was dark and quiet. Danny opened the case and the boots glowed softly in the dim light. They were beautiful. "We should not touch them," Rosa said, but she was already reaching for a pair. "Just for a minute," Pete said. "What could go wrong?" Danny picked up a pair of boots. They were lighter than he expected. There were small symbols on the heels that glowed blue. He did not know what they meant. He put the boots on. They fit perfectly, which was strange because he had not adjusted them. Rosa and Pete did the same. "How do we turn them on?" Rosa asked. Danny pressed a button on the side of his boot. Nothing happened. He pressed another button. Still nothing. "Maybe we are wearing them wrong," Pete said. Danny looked down at his feet. The glowing symbols on the heels were facing forward. That seemed wrong. But when he tried to turn the boots around, they would not come off. "Forget it," he said. "Let us just try walking." He took a step toward the wall, then another step. Then he was walking up the wall like it was the floor. Rosa screamed with excitement. Pete laughed so hard he fell over, which meant he fell up, which meant he hit the ceiling. For 20 minutes, they marched around the cargo bay. They walked on walls. They walked on the ceiling. They jumped from surface to surface, laughing like children with new toys. None of them noticed that they had put the boots on backward. The heel indicators were supposed to face backward, but they had put them facing forward. The boots were on the wrong feet. None of them noticed the Velrani observer watching through the small window in the cargo bay door. Gentle Current stood very still. All 4 of its hands were pressed against the glass. Its skin was changing colors rapidly, shifting from blue to purple to green and back again. The cubs had found the boots. They had put them on wrong. And somehow, impossibly, they were making them work anyway. Gentle Current watched for a long time. Then it turned and walked back to the shuttle. It had a report to send home. The elders needed to know about this. The young ones of Earth were not behaving like cubs at all. 6 months passed after the first meeting with the Velrani. In that time, everything changed. The Velrani had given humanity 50 pairs of gravity boots. They expected humans to study them slowly. They expected years of careful research. They expected the cubs to take small steps and learn patience. Humanity mass-produced the boots in 3 weeks. Engineers on Earth and Mars and the Moon worked day and night. They took the boots apart. They scanned every piece. They figured out how the gravity manipulation worked. It was not magic after all. It was just science that humans had not discovered yet. Once they saw how it worked, they could copy it. The Velrani were surprised. They sent messages asking how this was possible. Human scientists sent back a simple answer: "We learned fast because we needed to." Colonel Maria Santos was put in charge of the 1st Battalion trained only with the new boots. She was 41 years old and had been a soldier for 20 years. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth before joining the Space Forces. She knew how to train soldiers. She knew how to fight. Her battalion was called the Wall Walkers. 300 soldiers who could attack from any direction. They could run up walls during city battles. They could fight in zero gravity without floating around helplessly. They could move in ways that no human soldiers had ever moved before. The Velrani sent an advisor to watch the training. His name translated to Soft Whisper. He was younger than Gentle Current and more nervous around humans. He watched the soldiers practice for 3 days before he finally spoke up. "You are wearing the boots wrong," he said to Colonel Santos. Maria was drinking coffee in the observation room. She looked at the advisor calmly. "We know. The heel indicators should face backward. You have them facing forward. The orientation is completely reversed." "Yes." "Then why do you not fix this error?" Maria set down her coffee cup. "Come with me. I will show you." She led Soft Whisper to the training floor. 2 soldiers were practicing there, Private Amy Grant and Sergeant Danny Vega. Danny had been promoted after the cargo bay incident. Command had decided that breaking into the cargo bay to try alien technology was either very stupid or very brave. They chose to call it brave. "Sergeant Vega," Maria said, "show the advisor a wall transition." Danny nodded. He ran toward the wall at full speed. Just before hitting it, he twisted his body and his boots grabbed the wall. He did not slow down at all. He ran straight up the wall, across the ceiling, and down the other wall without stopping. "Now show him a correct wall transition," Maria said. Danny took off his boots. He put them on the right way, with the heel indicators facing backward. He ran at the wall again. This time, when he hit the wall, he slowed down. He had to take careful steps. He moved up the wall like he was climbing stairs. "I do not understand," Soft Whisper said. His skin was turning confused colors. "When we wear them your way," Maria explained, "the boots give us perfect stability. We cannot fall, we cannot slip, but we also cannot move fast. The boots are being too careful with us. That is the safety feature. It protects the wearer from injury. When we wear them our way, the safety feature works differently. It thinks we are walking backward, so it gives us more push to help us move forward. But we are actually moving forward already, so we get twice the push." Soft Whisper processed this for a moment. That would cause great discomfort. The pressure on your feet and legs would be significant. "It hurt a lot for the first 2 weeks," Danny said. He was putting his boots back on the wrong way. "Then we got used to it." "Your bodies adapted to the incorrect usage?" "Human bodies are good at adapting," Maria said. "We grew up on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We learned to adjust." Soft Whisper watched as Amy and Danny practiced more moves. They jumped from wall to wall. They did flips in the air. They moved so fast that Soft Whisper had trouble following them with his eyes. "This is not what the boots were designed for," he said quietly. "No," Maria agreed. "It is what we designed them for, or redesigned them for. Same thing." The advisor left that evening. He had to report to the Velrani elders. The cubs were not using their gifts correctly, but somehow they were using them better. Over the next few months, Danny Vega became famous. Not because he was the best soldier, he was good, but there were others who were better at fighting. Danny became famous because he invented things. He figured out that the boots, worn backward, could do more than just walk on walls. If you jumped and twisted your feet a certain way, the boots would push you through the air. It was not flying exactly. It was more like controlled falling in whatever direction you wanted. Danny called it boot jumping. The official military name was gravity-assisted tactical movement. Everyone just called it jumping. The engineers said it should not work. The boots were not designed for flight. There was no way the small gravity generators in the heels could produce enough force to lift a human body. Danny showed them it worked anyway. He jumped across a training field covering 50 meters in 3 seconds. He jumped up to a hovering platform 20 meters in the air. He jumped sideways, backward, and in spirals. "The boots do not know they cannot do this," Danny explained to a room full of confused scientists. "We are wearing them wrong, so they do not know what is supposed to happen. They just try to help us do whatever we are trying to do. And we are trying to fly." One scientist raised her hand. Her name was Dr. Carol Hayes. "That makes no sense. The boots are machines. They follow programs. They cannot be tricked." Danny shrugged. Maybe the Velrani programmed them to be helpful. Maybe when something is really trying to be helpful, it finds ways to help even when it should not be possible. Dr. Hayes shook her head, but she could not argue with the results. The boot-jumping technique spread through the military. Then it spread to civilians. Construction workers used it to move around tall buildings. Rescue teams used it to reach people trapped in high places. Athletes invented new sports around it. The Velrani sent more messages. They wanted to know how humans were doing these things. Human scientists sent back detailed reports. The Velrani read the reports and sent back more confused questions. The human answers did not make sense to them. Soft Whisper returned to Earth for another visit. He met with Maria and Danny in the same training room as before. "Our elders have studied your reports," he said. "They do not understand how this is possible. The boots should not work this way. The gravity generators are too small. The power supply is too limited. The safety programs should stop this kind of use." "And yet," Maria said simply. "And yet," Soft Whisper agreed. His skin was a color that meant deep thinking. "Our elders have a theory. They believe that human minds work differently than Velrani minds. When we make a tool, we see what it is. When you make a tool, you see what it could be. You do not accept limits. You push against them until they break." Danny laughed. "Is that bad?" "We do not know yet. It might be wonderful, it might be dangerous, it might be both." Soft Whisper looked at the two humans carefully. "Our species has lived for thousands of years by being careful. We make slow progress. We avoid risks. This is why we survive." "And us?" Maria asked. "Your species has lived for only a short time by our standards. You make fast progress. You take many risks. We do not know if you will survive, but we are beginning to think that if you do survive, you will become something we have never seen before." Danny stood up and walked to the training floor. He put on his boots, wrong way as always. He jumped into the air, twisted, and landed on the ceiling. He hung there upside down, looking at the Velrani advisor. "Maybe that is why you found us," Danny said. "Maybe the galaxy needs someone who wears their boots wrong." Soft Whisper watched him for a long moment. Then his skin turned a new color that neither human had seen before. "Perhaps," he said. "Perhaps it does." Outside the training building, the sun was setting over the Mars colony. Human ships moved through the orange sky, their crews wearing boots the wrong way, going places they were never supposed to go. The cubs were learning to walk, and they were walking in their own direction. The Kreth came without warning. One moment, the space around Jupiter was empty and quiet. The next moment, it was full of ships, hundreds of ships, massive warships that blocked out the stars. They came through fold space, a way of traveling faster than light that humanity had not yet figured out. Admiral Jack Reeves was drinking his morning coffee on the command station orbiting Mars when the alarm started. He spilled the coffee on his uniform as he ran to the command center. He did not care. Coffee stains did not matter when aliens were invading. "What do we have?" he demanded as he reached his chair. Lieutenant Paula Webb was at the sensor station. Her face was pale. 412 ships, Admiral. All of them bigger than anything we have. They came out of fold space near Jupiter 10 minutes ago. They are heading toward Earth." Jack felt cold. 400 ships. Earth had maybe 50 warships total. Most of them were small patrol vessels, nothing that could fight a real war. "Get me the Velrani," he said. "Get me Gentle Current." The communication took 8 minutes. When Gentle Current's face appeared on the screen, the alien already looked sad. Its skin was dark blue, a color that meant grief. "You have seen them," Gentle Current said. It was not a question. "Who are they?" "The Kreth Dominion. They are conquerors. They have destroyed many young civilizations. They take what they want and kill anyone who fights back." "Can you help us?" There was a long pause. Gentle Current's skin turned even darker. We cannot. You are not yet members of the Velrani Cooperative. Our laws forbid us from fighting wars for non-members. If we break this law, our own civilization could fall apart. I am sorry, Jack Reeves. I am so sorry. The screen went dark. Jack sat very still for a moment. His crew watched him. They were afraid. He was afraid too, but he could not show it. Okay, he said quietly. We fight alone. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. Every ship humanity had was called to defend Earth. Soldiers were loaded onto transports. Weapons were checked and checked again. Plans were made and changed and made again. Colonel Maria Santos arrived at the Mars command station with a crazy idea. Boot jumping, she said to Admiral Reeves. We use the gravity boots to board their ships. Jack stared at her. Board their ships? Maria? Their ships are covered in weapons. Our soldiers would be shot down before they got close. Not if we hide. Not if we come from unexpected directions. Not if we are very, very fast. Maria pulled up a display. The Kreth have studied our technology. They captured one pair of boots during a scout ship fight near Titan last month. They know about the boots. Then they will be ready for us. No. They know about the boots worn correctly. They figured out that we wear them wrong. Their reports say our boots are broken, non-functional. They think we are too stupid to use our own equipment. Jack leaned forward. They think the wrong way boots do not work? They think we are just wearing pretty shoes. They have no idea what we can actually do with them. The plan came together in 2 days. It was called Operation Wrong Foot. 30 battalions of boot Marines would hide in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. When the Kreth fleet passed by, the Marines would boot jump onto the enemy ships and fight from inside. It was a crazy plan. It was probably suicide, but it was the only plan they had. Sergeant Danny Vega was put in charge of one of the strike teams. His job was the hardest one. His team would boot jump directly onto the Kreth flagship and try to reach the bridge. If they could kill or capture the enemy commander, it might end the battle. The night before the attack, Danny sat in a small room on a hidden asteroid base. Rosa Martinez sat with him. She had stayed in the military, too. She was a corporal now. They had not talked about the cargo bay incident in months, but both of them remembered it. We might die tomorrow, Rosa said. Probably, Danny agreed. Are you scared? Danny thought about it. Yes, but I am also excited. Is that strange? Rosa laughed. It was not a happy laugh. Everything about us is strange. We wear our boots wrong. We jump through space like it is nothing. We are about to attack aliens with technology 1,000 years better than ours. Strange is normal now. They sat in silence for a while. Pete would have loved this, Rosa said finally. Pete Collins had been the 3rd person in the cargo bay that night. He had died in a training accident 4 months ago. Bad luck. Nothing heroic. Just a machine that failed at the wrong moment. He would have been the first one through the enemy hull, Danny said. He never could wait for anything. Neither can we. That is why we put the boots on wrong in the first place. We could not wait for permission. Danny stood up and stretched. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we make history, or we die trying. Either way, it will be something. The Kreth fleet moved slowly through the solar system. They were in no hurry. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They knew how this worked. The young species would fight. They would lose. The Kreth would take what they wanted and move on to the next conquest. The Kreth commander was called Vorn Krath. He had 17 eyes, and each one was focused on a different screen as the fleet approached the asteroid belt. His species did not need sleep. They did not feel fear. They felt only hunger and the joy of conquest. The humans are hiding ships in the asteroids, one of his officers reported. Small ships, no threat. Destroy them anyway, Vorn Krath ordered. Leave nothing alive. The Kreth weapons fired. Asteroids exploded. Small human ships tried to run and were cut down. Vorn Krath watched with satisfaction. This would be an easy conquest. The humans had spirit, but spirit was not enough against superior firepower. He did not see the humans coming. 30,000 Marines boot-jumped from hidden positions all across the asteroid belt. They moved so fast that Kreth sensors could not track them. They came from above, below, from every direction at once. They hit the Kreth hulls like rain hitting a window. Except this rain had cutting tools and explosives. Danny Vega's team hit the flagship first. They cut through the outer hull in 45 seconds. They were inside before the Kreth even knew they were under attack. The flagship was huge, bigger than any building Danny had ever seen. The hallways were wide and dark. The Kreth did not need much light. Their 17 eyes could see in near total darkness. But Danny had trained for this. His team had special visors that showed them everything. They moved fast, boot-jumping through corridors, bouncing off walls and ceilings. "Contact!" Rosa shouted. 3 Kreth soldiers appeared ahead of them. They were big, almost 4 meters tall, with hard shells covering their bodies. They raised weapons. Danny jumped, not forward, not backward, but up and sideways at the same time. His boots pushed him through the air in a spiral that no enemy could predict. He landed behind the Kreth soldiers before they could turn around. 2 shots, 3 bodies. Move on. The battle inside the flagship lasted 20 minutes. Danny lost 4 members of his team. Good soldiers, good friends. He did not have time to mourn. He kept moving. Finally, they reached the bridge. The door was locked, thick metal that should have been impossible to breach. Danny looked at the door. He looked at his boots. He had an idea. "Everyone back up," he said. He jumped at the door, not to hit it, but to land on it. His boots grabbed the metal surface. Then he told the boots to push, hard. The gravity generators in the boots were not designed to push against flat surfaces. They were designed for walking. But Danny was wearing them wrong. The boots did not know what they were supposed to do. They just tried to help. The door bent. Then it cracked. Then it flew inward like it had been hit by a bomb. Danny boot-jumped through the opening before the debris stopped flying. He landed on the bridge, weapons ready. Vorn Krath stood in the center of the room. 17 eyes stared at Danny with what might have been surprise, or might have been respect. "You are the Cubs," the Kreth commander said. His translator made the words sound flat and dead. "The ones who wear their equipment wrong." "That is us," Danny said. "And you are done." Outside the flagship, the battle was turning. Human Marines were everywhere, cutting through Kreth ships, disabling weapons, creating chaos. The Kreth had never faced an enemy like this. They had never seen soldiers who could move in 3 dimensions, who could attack from any angle, who fought like they did not care if they lived or died. Because honestly, most of them did not expect to live. They just wanted to make sure the Kreth remembered this day. They wanted to make sure the enemy knew that humanity was not easy prey. The Kreth fleet retreated 6 hours later. Less than a third of their ships could still fly. They limped away toward the edge of the solar system, defeated by a species they had dismissed as children. Admiral Jack Reeves watched them go from the command station. He was covered in sweat and someone else's blood. He had not slept in 3 days. He had never been happier. "They will be back," Maria said. She was standing next to him, just as tired, just as happy. "Maybe, but we will be ready." Jack looked at the screen showing the retreating enemy fleet. "Today we showed them something. Today we showed the whole galaxy something." "What did we show them?" Jack smiled. "That the Cubs have teeth." On the captured Kreth flagship, Danny Vega sat on the enemy commander's chair. His boots were still on, still wrong, still ready. Around him, his surviving team members were tending to the wounded and securing prisoners. Rosa came and sat next to him. "We did it. We did it," Danny agreed. Pete would have been proud. Pete would have said we were showing off. Danny laughed. For the first time in days, he laughed. He would have been right. Outside the viewport, Earth hung in space. Blue and green and white, home, safe, at least for now. The boots had saved them. The boots they wore wrong, the boots that should not have worked, the boots that somehow did impossible things because nobody told them they could not. The Cubs had discovered their boots, and they had used them to win a war. The Velrani Grand Council met for the first time in 300 years. This was not a small thing. The last time the full council had gathered was to decide whether to make first contact with a species called the Murathi. That decision had taken 50 years of debate. The Velrani did not rush anything, but the humans required immediate attention. The council chamber was vast. It was built into a hollowed-out moon orbiting the Velrani homeworld. Thousands of elders sat in rising circles around a central platform. Their skins shifted colors as they processed information, creating waves of light that moved through the crowd like wind through grass. Elder Flowing Tide stood at the center. She was very old, nearly 2,000 years by human counting. She had seen civilizations rise and fall. She had helped guide dozens of young species through their difficult early years. None of them had ever confused her as much as the humans. The Cubs have defeated the Kreth, she said. Her voice carried to every corner of the chamber through speakers built into the walls. This should not have been possible. The Kreth had 400 warships. The humans had less than 50. By all logic, Earth should be a conquered world right now. Murmurs rippled through the council. Colors shifted from calm blue to worried purple. How did they win? An elder asked from the upper circles. Flowing Tide activated a display. Images appeared in the air above the central platform. Humans in gravity boots, flying through space, cutting through Kreth hulls, fighting in ways that made no sense. They used the gift we gave them, the gravity boots. Simple mobility tools meant to help their young soldiers learn to operate in different environments. Teaching aids, the equivalent of giving a child blocks to stack. She paused. The images showed humans boot jumping across impossible distances, using the boots to break down doors, to fly through corridors, to move in 3 dimensions while fighting enemies who could only move in 2. They wore the boots incorrectly. We explained this to them many times. They acknowledged the error. They continued anyway, and somehow they made the boots do things we never designed them to do. Quiet Dawn, another elder, stood to speak. Show them the numbers. Flowing Tide nodded. New information appeared on the display. Technical data that made several younger council members change colors in shock. The gravity generators in our boots can produce approximately 50 units of force. This is enough to hold a person to a wall or ceiling. It is not enough for flight. It is not enough to break through military-grade hull plating. It is not enough for any of the things we watch the humans do. Then how? Someone called out. We do not know. Our best scientists have studied the human modifications. They found nothing. The humans did not upgrade the boots. They did not add new technology. They simply wore them wrong and expected them to work better, and somehow they did. Gentle Current stepped onto the platform. The younger Velrani had been the primary contact with humanity since the beginning. His skin was a complicated mix of colors that suggested deep thinking and considerable worry. I have spoken with the humans extensively, he said. I believe I understand part of what is happening. Human minds work differently than ours. When we create a tool, we define its limits. We say this tool can do this thing and no more. When humans use a tool, they do not accept those limits. They push against them. They assume the tool can do more if they just try hard enough. That is foolishness, an elder said. Tools have physical limits. Wishing does not change physics. And yet, Gentle Current gestured at the display. The evidence suggests otherwise, or rather it suggests that human belief has some effect on how technology operates. Perhaps it is psychological. Perhaps they simply try harder because they expect to succeed. Perhaps their determination allows them to find solutions that should not exist. Or perhaps, Quiet Dawn said slowly, we have been wrong about the limits all along. Perhaps our tools can do more than we thought. We simply never tried because we assumed it was impossible. Silence fell over the chamber. This was a disturbing idea. The Velrani had built their entire civilization on careful study and precise understanding. The thought that they might have limited themselves through false assumptions was troubling. Flowing Tide spoke again. There is another matter to consider. The Kreth will not accept this defeat. They will return with more ships. They will want revenge. And the humans are still not members of the cooperative. We cannot protect them. Then we make them members, someone suggested. They do not qualify. Our rules require a species to demonstrate stability over 10 generations before membership. Humans have only had space travel for 3 generations. They are too young, too unpredictable. Gentle Current raised one of his 4 hands. Perhaps we should reconsider our rules. More murmurs, colors shifting everywhere. Our rules have protected us for thousands of years, Flowing Tide said. We do not change them lightly. Our rules were made for species like us, Gentle Current replied. Patient species, careful species, species that grow slowly and live long. The humans are none of these things. They change faster than any species we have encountered. They adapt almost instantly. They take our gifts and transform them into something new within weeks. He paused, gathering his thoughts. If we apply our normal rules to them, we will be trying to fit a fire into a box. They will burn through any container we put them in. We must either find new rules that can hold them or accept that they will make their own rules. The debate continued for many hours. Velrani debates often lasted for years, but this one had urgency. The Kreth would return. A decision had to be made. Finally, Elder Quiet Dawn proposed a compromise. We cannot make them full members. Our laws do not allow it. But perhaps we can create a new category. Provisional membership. They would have some protections, some responsibilities. They would be part of the cooperative, but not bound by all its rules. What would we call them? Flowing Tide asked. Gentle Current had been thinking about this. On Earth, they have a term for beings who are between childhood and adulthood, teenager. A stage of rapid growth and unpredictable behavior. A stage where beings believe they know better than their elders and sometimes turn out to be right. The translator struggled with the concept, but eventually the council understood. We are proposing to adopt 30 billion teenagers, Flowing Tide said slowly. Yes, this is unprecedented. So are they. The vote was taken. It was not unanimous. Many elders believed this was a mistake. But the majority agreed that something had to be done, and this was the best option available. The humans would become provisional members of the Velrani Cooperative, the first species ever to receive this status, the first species to be recognized as something other than cubs or adults, teenagers, beings in between, beings becoming. On Earth, the celebrations lasted for a week when the news arrived. Humanity had won a war against impossible odds. Now they were joining an alliance that spanned hundreds of worlds. The future looked brighter than anyone had dared to hope. Admiral Jack Reeves held a ceremony for the fallen. Thousands had died in the battle against the Kreth. Their names were read aloud, one by one, so that no one would be forgotten. Colonel Maria Santos was promoted to general. She was put in charge of training more boot Marines. The Kreth would return, and humanity needed to be ready. Captain Danny Vega stood at the back of the memorial ceremony. Rosa Martinez stood next to him. They had survived the flagship assault with scars and nightmares that would take years to heal, but they had survived. Pete Collins, the reader said. It was just one name among thousands, but to Danny, it was the most important one. He would have been happy, Rosa said quietly. He always said we would do something great someday. He just did not think it would happen so soon. Danny nodded. He was thinking about the cargo bay, 3 young soldiers who could not wait, 3 pairs of boots put on wrong. A mistake that changed everything. Do you ever wonder, Rosa said, what would have happened if we had put them on correctly? Sometimes, but I think we would have gotten bored. We would have walked on walls carefully, slowly, safely. We would have done exactly what the Velrani expected, and we never would have discovered what else was possible. So the mistake was actually a gift. Maybe all mistakes are gifts. Maybe that is what makes us human. We make mistakes, and then we turn them into something better. Rosa laughed. That is either very wise or very stupid. Probably both, Danny agreed, like everything else we do. The ceremony ended. The crowd slowly scattered. Ships moved through the sky above, carrying soldiers and supplies, preparing for whatever came next. Somewhere out in the galaxy, the Kreth were licking their wounds and planning revenge. Somewhere else, the Velrani were trying to understand what kind of species they had just adopted. And somewhere in between, humanity was learning to walk in boots meant for someone else. They were still putting them on wrong. They would always put them on wrong. And somehow that was exactly right. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed. The Kreth did return, as everyone expected. They came with twice as many ships, carrying weapons designed specifically to counter human tactics. They studied the first battle carefully. They prepared for boot jumpers. They installed better sensors, stronger hulls, automated defense systems that could shoot down flying soldiers. They were defeated again in 3 days. Humanity had not been standing still. The boots worn wrong were just the beginning. Every piece of technology the Velrani shared, humans found ways to use differently. Communication systems that could reach farther than designed, medical tools that could heal injuries that were supposed to be permanent, ships that flew faster than physics should have allowed. The Velrani stopped being surprised. They just watched and took notes. Admiral Lisa Monroe stood on the deck of the battleship Horizon. She had been promoted 3 times in 5 years. She was now the highest-ranking officer in the United Earth Space Force. Behind her, through the massive viewport, she could see more than 100 human warships. 5 years ago, humanity had 50 small patrol vessels. Now they had a real fleet. Today was special. Today, humanity would officially become full members of the Velrani Cooperative. Not provisional members. Not teenagers being watched carefully. Full members with all rights and responsibilities. The Velrani delegation is arriving, said Kevin Park. He was still a scientist, but now he was also an ambassador. He had learned 3 alien languages and invented 2 new translation systems. Gentle Current is leading them. Lisa smiled. She had come to consider Gentle Current a friend over the years. The alien had been patient with humanity, even when humans did things that made no sense to Velrani minds, especially then. The ceremony was held in a great hall on the Mars colony. 500 humans attended, along with representatives from dozens of cooperative species. The Velrani elders had sent their most senior members. Even Flowing Tide was there, ancient and dignified, her skin shifting through calm colors. Gentle Current stood at the center of the hall. In front of him was a table with the traditional gifts given to new member species, star charts showing safe routes through dangerous space, technology databases containing thousands of years of accumulated knowledge, cultural archives preserving the wisdom of hundreds of civilizations. "We have gathered here," Gentle Current said, his translator turning his words into human language, "to welcome a new species into our cooperative. This is always a moment of joy. New voices bring new ideas. New perspectives challenge old assumptions. Every species that joins us makes us stronger." He paused. His skin flickered through several colors that Lisa had learned meant complex emotions. But I must be honest. When we first met the humans 5 years ago, we did not expect to be here today. We expected to be their teachers for many generations. We expected to guide them slowly, carefully, as we have guided dozens of species before. We thought they were cubs who needed protection. A gentle laugh moved through the human section of the audience. We were wrong. Not wrong about their youth. Humans are still a young species by our standards, but wrong about what that youth means. We assumed young meant weak. Young meant ignorant. Young meant needing to be taught. Gentle Current looked directly at Lisa. Instead, we discovered that young can also mean energetic, creative, willing to try things that older species would never consider. We gave them boots and expected them to walk carefully. They put the boots on wrong and learned to fly. He stepped back from the table and gestured for Lisa to approach. Admiral Lisa Monroe, on behalf of the Velrani Cooperative and all its member species, I present these gifts to humanity. We give them knowing that you will use them in ways we never imagined. We give them hoping that whatever you discover will be shared with all of us. We give them trusting that the cubs who became teenagers are ready to become adults. Lisa stepped forward. She had prepared a speech. She had practiced it many times. But now, standing in front of all these beings from all these worlds, the prepared words seemed wrong. We accept your gifts, she said simply, and we thank you, not just for the technology or the knowledge. Thank you for believing in us when we did not follow your rules. Thank you for protecting us even when we frustrated you. Thank you for seeing something in us that we did not see in ourselves. She picked up the star charts, the first of the traditional gifts. We are still young. We still make mistakes. We still put things on wrong and expect them to work anyway. That will not change. But we promise to use everything you have given us to make the galaxy better. Not just for humans, for everyone. General Maria Santos stood in the audience, watching. Danny Vega stood next to her. He was a colonel now. Rosa Martinez stood on his other side, also a colonel. The 3 young soldiers who had snuck into a cargo bay 5 years ago were now senior military leaders. The mistake they had made had become legend. After the formal ceremony ended, there was a celebration. Food and drink from 100 different worlds, music that mixed human instruments with alien melodies, conversation in dozens of languages, all somehow managing to communicate. Gentle Current found Danny near the back of the hall. The young colonel was standing alone, looking out a window at the stars. You were one of the first, Gentle Current said. The cargo hold. You and your friends marching around with the boots reversed. Danny turned. You saw that? I always wondered. I saw it. I reported to my superiors that the humans were hopeless, that you could not even wear simple footwear correctly. I recommended ending the contact program. But you did not end it. No, because I kept watching. I saw you figure out the boots in 20 minutes. I saw you invent new ways to use them in an hour. I saw you do things that should have been impossible. And I realized that impossible was just a word we used when we were not creative enough to find a solution. Danny smiled. Is that why you kept coming back? To see what other impossible things we would do? Partly. Also because you fascinated me. Still do. Every time I think I understand humans, you surprise me again. We surprise ourselves, Danny admitted. Most of the time we have no idea what we are doing. We just keep trying things until something works. That is what makes you terrifying. And wonderful. Gentle Current's skin shifted to colors Danny had learned meant warm affection. We have a saying among my people. The river that knows its course will always reach the sea. But the river that does not know its course might find an ocean. Danny thought about that. Which are we? The river that knows or the river that does not? You are the river that refuses to choose. You want the sea and the ocean and everything in between. And somehow, you might just get all of it. The celebration continued late into the night. Lisa Monroe talked with Flowing Tide for hours about the future of the cooperative. Maria Santos demonstrated boot-jumping techniques for fascinated alien observers. Kevin Park got into a friendly argument with 3 Velrani scientists about the nature of consciousness. Near midnight, Danny gathered with the other boot Marines at the edge of the celebration. There were about 200 of them there, the veterans of both Kreth Wars. They had planned something special. At a signal from Danny, they all activated their boots. The wrong way boots, the impossible boots. They rose from the floor in perfect formation. They flew up toward the high ceiling of the great hall, spinning and twisting and moving in ways that made the alien observers gasp. When they reached the top, they arranged themselves into a pattern. From below, it spelled out a single word in the Velrani script. Friends. The hall went silent. Then it exploded in applause, not just humans clapping, Velrani changing colors in appreciation, other species making sounds of approval in their own ways. A moment of unity that crossed all the barriers of biology and culture and history. Danny hung there at the top of the formation, looking down at the celebration below. He thought about Pete Collins, who should have been there but was not. He thought about all the soldiers who had died so that humanity could reach this day. He thought about 3 young people in a cargo bay, putting on boots they did not understand and marching around like fools. We are still those fools, he thought. We just have better boots now. Later, as the celebration wound down and the guests began to leave, Gentle Current found Lisa Monroe one more time. "I have a question," the alien said. "It has troubled me for 5 years." "Ask." "When your soldiers first tried on the boots, they put them on backward. Was that truly an accident? Or did they somehow know, on some level, that wrong would be better?" Lisa laughed softly. "You know, I asked Danny that same question once. He said he did not know. He said maybe it was luck. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was just stubbornness. He could not explain it. But what do you think?" Lisa looked out the window at the stars. Human ships moved among them, crewed by men and women wearing boots the wrong way, going places no one had gone before. "I think it does not matter why we do things wrong. What matters is that we keep doing them anyway. We stumble, we fall, we get up and try again. Sometimes we end up somewhere terrible. Sometimes we end up somewhere wonderful. But we always end up somewhere new." Gentle Current considered this for a long moment. "That is either very wise or very foolish." "It is very human," Lisa said. "Which is probably both." The Velrani made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, I think it is." Outside the Great Hall, the sun rose over Mars. A new day for humanity, a new era for the galaxy. The Cubs had discovered their boots, worn them wrong, and marched into the stars. They were still marching. They would always be marching. And the universe would never be the same.